Hello everyone, my name is Hamza.
My name is Ahmed. Our project focuses on Swift.
So Swift is Apple's programming language exclusively for Apple products. It was originally developed by UFI grad Chris Latner and was publicly released in June of 2014. Before the release of Swift, all of Apple applications were made using Objective-C.
Swift is mainly an object-oriented language, but it could also be categorized as imperative because of its use of mutable objects and functional since it contains reduce and map-like functions. The picture on the left shows Swift code done in a more imperative fashion, while the code on the right shows a more functional approach.
Swift is known to be a relatively easy to learn language even without any prior knowledge with coding. Apple encourages non-programmers to practice coding since they released an iPad app that helps teach programming to a younger audience. Swift is an Apple exclusive language, so all the applications on Mac, iOS, iPad, etc. can be made with Swift. Xcode is Apple's free IDE where Swift apps are the best developed. Playground is one of its unique features where basically as you're writing your code, it will show you your output to your right. And as you see in this picture, this is where the Playground feature was first introduced by Apple.
The key feature that we found most intriguing is Swift's use of weak and strong references. A strong reference is an instance that has a strong link to another object so that it can't be destroyed. If compared to Java, all objects in Java are passed by reference and won't be garbage collected until it isn't referenced. In Swift, all objects are strong by default, but a programmer can make the object weak if needed. All instances are deallocated by the ARC, which is the automated resource count, if no other objects have a strong reference to it. It isn't easy to really explain in words, so our demo is designed to show the difference between a weak and a strong reference.
So basically we have a student class which basically creates a name for the student, and we have a class constructor for it and a destructor for it. And then the grade class is basically the same thing as the student class, except it takes in an integer. Okay, basically our code right now is creating a student and a grade for that particular student, and then when you run the code, it creates the student with the grade and then deletes the student along with its grade.
In the student class, we added an extra array of grades so that each student can keep track of their grades. And then in the grade class, we added a student object so that each grade can keep track of what student it belongs to. So then we had to add an extra parameter to the constructor, and then over here is where we're assigning the student type for the grade into the grade, and then we're adding the grade to the student's array of grades. So then if we go down to the code, there's going to be an error because we added the extra parameter. And then if we run this, it creates the student, it creates the grade, but it doesn't delete it. Here's a more visual explanation of what's going on with the two strong references. The grade object first creates a strong reference to the student in that first line. Then the array of grades in the student object creates a strong reference to the actual grade object. Since both of them have a strong reference on each other, the ARC can't garbage collect them, which becomes a memory leak, which is called a strong reference cycle.
Okay, so right now our code has a memory error. So in order to fix our memory error, what we do is we go to our grade class and we declare a weak reference for the student, and then when we run this code, as you can see over here, it created the class and then deleted the object.
As we said earlier, the language that was used to make all Apple applications before Swift was Objective-C. Swift was created as a means to improve the C-like, confusing-looking code that was Objective-C. Most programmers developing code for Apple products will more likely choose Swift over Objective-C because Swift requires less code, which makes it much more readable. Swift is also safer and less error-prone for similar reasons of why C++ is safer than C. There's less memory management by the user. There's less raw pointers, and there's better handling of null nil exceptions. The code on the left is showing Objective-C code, and the code on the right is showing Swift code, and they're both doing the same thing, but the Swift code is much more easier to understand, and just looking at it, you have a better understanding of what's going on than if you were to just look at the Objective-C code.
Apple always makes a heavy emphasis on safety on all of its products, and that is also the case with Swift. Swift is a much more easier to learn language and safer than Objective-C. It automatically allocates and deallocates memory for you and is much more easier to read than Python or Objective-C. The downside to Swift is that it's an Apple exclusive language, which means that it can only be run on a machine that runs OS X. And then another downside to Swift is that since it's a relatively new language, every update that comes out for the language, it changes a lot from the previous versions. And as you can see, it's already in its fourth version since its release.
Here are a few statistics we found online that we thought were pretty interesting. According to Stack Overflow's 2017 developer survey, Swift ranked as the fourth most loved language and eighth as the most wanted language.
And according to the same survey, Swift didn't even make it to the list of most dreadful languages.